Jeff Bezos just tied the knot, and he did it in style. The Amazon founder got married in a jaw-dropping, star-studded ceremony in Venice, a city so magical it almost feels unreal. Yet somehow it exists. New photos and videos show the billionaire and his bride, Lauren Sanchez, saying, "I do," on a private island, surrounded by unbelievable luxury. They dropped over $50 million, rented an entire island, flew in 90 celebrities on private jets, and somehow, the internet still called it cheesy Bezos, and Sanchez wanted a wedding no one would ever forget. And they got it, but maybe not exactly how they imagined. From an awkward Vogue cover and a Kardashian cameo, to rumors that some celebrities were even paid to attend, plus a wedding dress criticized for looking torn, and a carpet that looked suspiciously like it came from an Amazon office. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a full-blown media circus. So why is everyone still buzzing about this wedding? And does it really shine a spotlight on all the wild excesses of billionaire culture? Let's unpack it, layer by layer, because this wasn't just a cringy moment. It could have been a full-blown disaster hiding behind a wedding dress in a sea of stage lights. Stick around, hit that like button, and subscribe as we dive in. The moment the first drone shots of the wedding hit the internet, it was obvious. This was carefully staged. Lauren Sanchez isn't just marrying one of the richest men alive. She's stepping into an entirely new persona. Just days before the big day, she wiped her Instagram clean, leaving only 2 perfectly curated posts behind. The message was loud and clear. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a full-on personal rebrand. The TV reporter we knew, gone. In her place, a Kardashian-style celebrity in the making, unveiled like a product launch for the world to consume. And Jeff, he wasn't just the tech billionaire buried in spreadsheets anymore. Suddenly, he was a full-blown media mogul, waving, posing, gliding through Venice like he was the star of The Bachelor. Billionaire edition. And weirdly enough, at least according to the tabloids, it worked. Vogue scored an exclusive interview with Lauren. Paparazzi were strategically tipped off, and every angle of the wedding was tightly choreographed. But the public, not buying it. Behind all the glitz, something felt forced, fake almost, a desperate, look-at-us energy. It didn't take long before the internet started buzzing. Did Jeff Bezos actually pay celebrities to show up? And honestly, the idea didn't seem that far-fetched. Reddit and forums lit up with wild theories. People weren't just curious about who showed up, they were stunned by who showed up. Sydney Sweeney, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Brady, Usher, the Kardashians, Oprah, Jerry Seinfeld. The guest list read like an A-list dream. The problem? Most of them looked like they were at a press conference, not a wedding. Some claim the celebrities weren't directly paid to attend, but let's be real. They were probably treated to luxury travel and 5-star stays. When your net worth is nearly $200 billion, flying 200 A-listers on private jets barely scratches the budget. As one commenter put it, even if they weren't paid, the perks alone had to be insane. But that's when things started to get awkward. Instead of buzzing with joy and celebration, most of the celebrities seemed stiff, even a little uncomfortable. There were no real connections, no spontaneous laughs, no hint that any of these people actually knew each other. It felt less like a lively event and more like a Hollywood set with a green screen. Perfect on paper, but completely lifeless in reality. And that only made it more confusing. Was this a wedding, a party, or just a carefully staged performance? And then, there he was, Leonardo DiCaprio. The global face of the environmental movement, the voice behind the climate documentary Before the Flood. Now he ducked his head under a black baseball cap, trying to slip in unnoticed as he made his way into Jeff Bezos' $50 million over-the-top jet-set wedding, and the internet lost it. This wasn't just a small contradiction. This was hypocrisy in high definition, broadcast for the whole world to see. Leonardo DiCaprio, the man who spent years sounding the alarm on rising sea levels, carbon footprints, and the environmental fallout of extreme wealth, was now rubbing elbows with the very elite whose lifestyles he spent a career critiquing. The same people whose private jets, mega yachts, and endless consumption are pushing the planet closer to the edge. And there he was, smiling and clinking glasses, part of their glittering world. It was the kind of moment that made you pause. Was this a deliberate statement, a misstep, or just Hollywood theater at its finest, where the line between activism and celebrity life blurs into something almost unrecognizable? One clever netizen wrote, "Save the planet unless there's free champagne and a Vogue photographer in the room. Another didn't hold back, labeling Leo the ultimate eco-hypocrite, hiding behind sunglasses while jetting off to Venice on someone else's billionaire bankroll. And then there was the hat. Not a stylish fedora, not some fancy tuxedo accessory, just the same old black baseball cap pulled low over his face, as if he wanted to disappear entirely from the scene. The internet pounced. Memes exploded across every platform. One joked, "This is Leonardo DiCaprio's formal wear concept." Another jabbed, "Looks like the planet isn't the only thing he's abandoned." But it wasn't just funny, it was telling, because when even the celebrities who brand themselves as woke bow their heads and shuffle silently into a billionaire's over-the-top celebration, something deeper is happening. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and most of all, it's revealing. It's a quiet admission that the glitz, the glamour, and the velvet ropes often come at the expense of the very ideals these stars claim to stand for. In that moment, it felt less like a wedding and more like a mirror reflecting the uneasy dance between fame, wealth, and morality. A dance where even heroes can stumble. Lauren Sanchez didn't just arrive at a wedding, she practically stepped straight onto the cover of Vogue, alone, draped in a wedding dress that screamed royalty. To some, it was a fashion triumph, the kind of bold, glossy statement only Vogue could pull off. But to many others, it set off alarm bells. A deeper, more suspicious vibe lingered beneath the sparkle. The timing only fueled the speculation. Anna Wintour, the legendary editor-in-chief of Vogue, had abruptly resigned just before the magazine released that cover. Social media users immediately started connecting the dots. Was it just a coincidence? Or had Anna quietly refused to lend her stamp of approval to what she saw as a carefully manufactured image? A spectacle built on fame, not authenticity. Because this wasn't a story about a trend-setting couple. This was about a billionaire and his fiancée, a pairing that many suspected was trying to stage the next Kardashian-level moment. And in that context, the cover felt less like high fashion and more like a carefully choreographed performance, designed for clicks, clout, and headlines. It left people asking, are we witnessing a cultural milestone or just another glittering illusion designed to make us stare and scroll? And somewhere beneath the silk and flash, the question lingered. What does it really say when the queen of fashion steps aside and the billionaire's world takes center stage? They pose like A-listers, smiles plastered, trying to project an image of wealth and status they hadn't quite earned, but then the carpet. Yes, the carpet, a detail so tiny it almost seemed invisible. Yet once noticed, it was impossible to ignore. Photos from the wedding revealed a sea of pale gray carpet, so bland it looked like it had been plucked straight from an Amazon warehouse. Not a hint of texture, no flourish, nothing that whispered luxury or style, just a flat, lifeless expanse that made the entire scene feel strangely cheap. The internet erupted. $50 million spent, and this was the carpet they picked? For a billionaire's wedding? Memes and jokes spread faster than the champagne flowed. That carpet became shorthand for everything people were already rolling their eyes at. Tasteless luxury, soulless excess, money thrown at aesthetics without a single thought for beauty or meaning. It wasn't just a carpet anymore. It was a symbol, a quiet indictment of the entire spectacle. A reminder that even when billions are spent, style, taste, and authenticity can still be completely missing. The entire wedding felt impersonal. It felt like a PowerPoint presentation dressed up in Dolce & Gabbana. And the more you look into the details, the more calculated, artificial, staged everything becomes. The confusion and the whispers started with Lauren Sanchez's wedding dress. It was a custom Dolce & Gabbana gown with a tight corset, long sleeves, and an unexpected weight that made it look heavy, almost oppressive. An odd choice for a summer wedding in sun-soaked Venice, where light fabrics and flowing silhouettes usually reign supreme. Some called it elegant, a nod to old-world glamour, but others weren't so kind. To them, it looked less like a romantic Italian dream and more like a winter funeral draped in silk. Fashion critics piled on. The dress aged her beyond her years, made her appear stiff, and worst of all, it didn't feel like Lauren at all. This wasn't a bride. It was celebrity cosplay, a meticulously crafted image that said everything about spectacle and nothing about authenticity. It left people staring at the photos and wondering, was this a moment of fashion daring or a dramatic misstep? And in the grand, over-the-top world of billionaire weddings, that question suddenly mattered a lot. Because in a ceremony designed for headlines, every detail, from the dress to the carpet, was under a microscope, revealing the tension between true style and carefully manufactured illusion. And then there were the Kardashian-Jenner guests. They were all there, but almost none of them seemed genuinely happy to be. Kim Kardashian showed up in her signature, tight, figure-hugging dress, but her expression was icy, cold, blank, almost robotic. You could picture her smiling for the cameras, but there was no warmth behind it. Khloe looked like she was either melting in the summer heat or plotting a quiet escape from the ceremony, her discomfort practically radiating. Kylie Jenner's dress became an instant topic of debate online. Was it actually ripped or just a questionable design choice? Either way, it didn't exactly scream wedding of the century. The photos made her look more like she was in a costume drama than attending one of the most expensive ceremonies ever. Even Kris Jenner, who initially received praise for her polished look, couldn't escape scrutiny. One sarcastic comment summed it up perfectly. She looks great, but she's finally starting to look her age. Despite the facelifts and cosmetic perfection, the exhaustion was visible, etched into her face, a quiet reminder that glamour can't fully mask reality. Every glance, every pose, every stiff smile made it clear. Beneath the designer dresses and glittering jewelry, something felt off. The spectacle was flawless on paper, but up close, the tension, the discomfort, and the human cracks were impossible to ignore. Sydney Sweeney, meanwhile, showed up in a dress that had people squinting in disbelief. Something straight out of a high school prom at Macy's Cute? Maybe. But for an event of this scale, this much-hyped $50 million extravaganza, it felt completely out of place. Like she'd been invited at the last minute and thrown into the chaos. And that was the overarching problem everyone kept noticing. Nothing about this ceremony clicked. Not the guests, not the fashion, not the vibe. It was as if someone had handpicked the A-list cast for a blockbuster movie, but completely forgot to write the script. All the money, all the glittering excess, and yet the entire scene screamed one thing: communication strategy, not love. Look at the guest list, and the pattern becomes obvious. Oprah, Leonardo DiCaprio, Usher, Jerry Seinfeld, Sydney Sweeney, Tom Brady, Ellie Goulding, the Kardashians, the Jenners, even Ivanka Trump. Each appearance meticulously calculated, each smile carefully curated. This wasn't a wedding. It was a staged PR performance, a showcase of influence and social clout dressed up as romance. Every detail, from the dresses to the stiff poses to the oddly selected guests, made it clear. This was less about vows and champagne and more about headlines, optics, and the subtle art of reminding the world who really matters. All these names, all this star power, and yet nothing really connected them. No shared history, no inside jokes, no sense of a genuine circle of friends. This wasn't a reunion. It wasn't even a celebration of love. It was a carefully curated collection of big names, chosen for the cameras, for the headlines, for the optics, and the mood betrayed it. Behind the designer gowns and tailored suits, it looked like everyone was quietly counting down the minutes until they could escape, slip back onto their private jets, and return to their own curated worlds. The smiles felt rehearsed, the laughter almost performative, and every pose seemed less about celebration and more about checking off appearances on some invisible checklist. It was a spectacle designed for the outside world, not for the heart. And in that quiet, calculated tension, the real story emerged. A wedding that looked like magic from a distance, but up close, it revealed itself as a high-budget production where connection was optional and the cameras were the only real guests who mattered. If Jeff and Lauren were hoping for intimacy or authenticity, they missed the mark entirely. This wasn't a celebration of love. It was a personal brand launch, a meticulously staged PR spectacle. Every detail felt produced, choreographed, and designed for cameras, social media posts, magazine spreads, viral headlines. Nothing was left to chance. They weren't trying to be private. They weren't trying to be exclusive. They were trying to be famous, and they wanted the world to know it. And just when you thought the performance might end with the ceremony, it didn't. The fanfare continued. A few days later, Lauren Sanchez revealed a brand new, jaw-dropping ring, an upgrade so ostentatious that the original pink diamond now looked like a rehearsal dinner accessory. There was no subtlety, no traditional wedding band, just a single gemstone that practically consumed her entire knuckle, broadcasting a clear, unmistakable message: power, status, and influence. It wasn't about love or commitment. It was about visibility, dominance, and making a statement that couldn't be ignored. In every glittering detail, from the star-studded guest list to the over-the-top jewelry, the wedding broadcast a single truth. This was a show for the world, and the main act was fame itself. One eagle-eyed tracker noticed that Kim Kardashian's return flight to Los Angeles alone cost an estimated $33,000. That's right, just one flight. And that's before even mentioning the massive carbon footprint. All of this while ordinary people were arguing over student loans, school lunches, and basic health insurance. The contrast was jarring. Social media erupted with comments like, "This is what happens when the super rich run out of things to do. And the ridiculous is back, and richer than ever." The money poured into this wedding could have transformed countless lives, but instead it bought a bland carpet, a few Instagram photos, and a lot of global attention. One viral post perfectly captured the sentiment: this isn't a wedding. This is a masterclass in everything wrong with modern billionaire culture. Because when you flaunt thumb-sized diamonds, fly 200 people across the globe, and stage a photo shoot that looks like a Hollywood set, you're not just wealthy, you're completely detached from reality. And that's the real point. You're not just rich, you're disconnected. So what was all of this really about? A lavish wedding? A celebrity spectacle? Or something much deeper? Many people believe that Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez aren't just tying the knot. They're launching a new version of themselves into the global spotlight, a meticulously crafted brand designed to dominate headlines and social feeds alike. It wasn't a ceremony of love. It was a statement, a performance, and a reminder that in the world of billionaires, visibility can sometimes matter more than connection. Lauren, once known as a TV host, is now stepping fully into the world of influencers, social media stars, and curated celebrity personas. Meanwhile, Jeff, the tech titan, is trying on the cool billionaire image, the kind no longer tied to innovation or career milestones, but to fame, headlines, and carefully crafted optics. But today's audience isn't easily fooled. People see through the glittering PR stunts, the eye-popping spending, the mismatched guest lists, and the stiff, rehearsed smiles. This kind of opulence isn't awe-inspiring, it's hollow. The entire spectacle feels tired, overdone, and ultimately inevitable in its backlash. Because in a world where billions are still struggling with basic needs, a $50 million wedding isn't just a celebration. It's a statement, and no amount of diamonds or designer gowns can buy respect. Which raises the big question: is this the blueprint for the future of celebrity? Are billionaires now branding themselves with diamond rings, private islands, and headline-grabbing spectacles? Or is it something else entirely? A last-ditch bid for attention, a desperate attempt to stay relevant in a world growing more cynical, sober, and unsentimental by the day? What's your take? Is this genius branding or just tone-deaf extravagance? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and ring the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video, where we'll unpack the next big story shaking the celebrity world.